1. You have been dropping trichlor tablets into your pool floater since the day you opened the pool. Every 2 weeks, refill the floater. Every month, buy another bucket. It is automatic at this point. Tablets go in, chlorine comes out, pool stays clear enough. The system works. Sort of, here is what the tablet system is quietly doing to your pool while it works. Every single tablet dissolves 2 things into your water simultaneously. Chlorine, which gets consumed and needs replacing, and cyanuric acid, which does not get consumed, does not evaporate, and does not break down. It stays, it builds. 1 week after week, tablet after tablet, from the day you opened the pool in May to the day you read this video, your CYA has been climbing, slowly, invisibly, toward the range where the chlorine those same tablets are adding stops working effectively. By August, in most tablet-fed pools, CYA is sitting somewhere between 70 and 110 parts per million. At those levels, the chlorine that tests fine on your strip is operating at a fraction of its labeled effectiveness. Algae gets the window it needs. The pool turns green, you add more tablets, the CYA climbs higher, the cycle tightens. The forbidden chemical that breaks this cycle permanently is plain unscented liquid bleach from the grocery store. Sodium hypochlorite, $3 to $5 per jug. The identical active compound as liquid pool chlorine at a fraction of the cost, with one critical difference from tablets. It adds 0 cyanuric acid. 0. Every jug of bleach that goes into your pool at dusk adds chlorine and nothing else. CYA stays exactly where you set it. The tablet-driven accumulation cycle stops the day you make the switch. That is the answer up front. 1. But before you pour bleach into your pool tonight, there is a condition that changes how the switch works, and getting it wrong produces a week of chemistry problems before things improve. What tablets are actually doing to your pool? The full picture. Trichlor tablets are 90% available chlorine and approximately 52% cyanuric acid by weight. That means for every pound of trichlor that dissolves in your pool, roughly half a pound of cyanuric acid enters the water alongside the chlorine. One in a pool consuming 1 pound of trichlor per week across a 20-week season. That is 10 pounds of cyanuric acid added to the water over summer, with none of it leaving unless water physically leaves the pool. The chemistry effect of this accumulation is specific and measurable. The relationship between CYA and chlorine effectiveness is not linear. At 30 ppm CYA, 2 ppm of free chlorine provides strong sanitation. At 50 ppm, you need 3 ppm to achieve the same result. At 70 ppm, roughly 5 ppm. At 90 ppm, 7 ppm or more. 1 at 100 ppm. Maintaining effective sanitation requires sustaining 10 or more ppm of free chlorine continuously, a level that normal daily tablet dosing cannot produce. The pool is under-sanitized despite the floater running continuously. Algae establishes. The owner adds more tablets. CYA climbs further. The problem accelerates. Tablets also lower pH over time as a byproduct of their chemical composition. Trichlor has a very low pH, around 2.8 in solution. Continuous tablet use pushes pool pH downward, requiring regular pH up additions to compensate. 1. The pool store benefits from this too. Every bucket of tablets sold creates a recurring need for pH correction product, one compound generating 2 recurring revenue streams simultaneously, and tablets crack and pit plaster surfaces at the point of contact if they settle on the pool floor, or are placed in the skimmer and allowed to dissolve directly against the surface rather than in a floating dispenser. This is not a hypothetical. It is a documented cause of plaster damage in pools that have run tablets through skimmer baskets for multiple seasons. 1. The damage is cumulative and irreversible without replastering. None of this means tablets have never worked. They have been the default residential pool sanitizer for decades because they are convenient. They dissolve slowly, and they provide a consistent source of chlorine without daily attention. The problem is not the chlorine component. It is the mandatory CYA component that accumulates regardless of whether you want it to, cannot be removed by any chemical, and eventually undermines the effectiveness of the chlorine it accompanies. The CYA problem, check this number before switching. 1. Before adding a single jug of bleach as a tablet replacement, test your current CYA level. This is the most important step in the transition and the one most owners skip because they assume the switch is just a product substitution. It is not. The CYA level determines how the switch works and whether immediate action is needed before you begin. Use a drop test kit for CYA, not a strip. Strips are notoriously inaccurate on cyanuric acid. They can read 35 ppm when the actual level is 85 ppm. An inaccurate CYA reading causes every decision that follows to be made on false information. 1. The Taylor K2006 drop test kit or any comparable kit with a dedicated CYA turbidity test gives you an accurate number. Write it down. Here is what each result means for your transition plan. CYA between 30 and 50 ppm, ideal range. Remove the tablet floater. Switch to bleach at dusk immediately. No dilution needed. The transition is clean and the bleach you add will work at full effectiveness from day one. CYA between 50 and 70 ppm, elevated but manageable. Remove the tablet floater. Switch to bleach. 1. Plan a small dilution. Drain and replace 15 to 20% of the pool volume over the next 2 weeks to bring CYA back toward the lower end of the range. Do not add any additional CYA source while this dilution happens. CYA between 70 and 90 ppm. This is the range where most late summer tablet-fed pools land. Stop adding tablets immediately. Do not switch to bleach yet. Perform a partial dilution first. Drain 25 to 30% of the pool volume. Refill with fresh water. Wait 48 hours. Retest. 1A pool at 85 ppm CYA. Brought down to approximately 60 ppm through dilution, can then transition to bleach effectively. A second small dilution 2 weeks later brings it fully into range. CYA above 90 ppm. Full dilution cycle required before any other correction. Drain 30%, refill, retest. If still above 70 ppm, drain another 25%, refill, retest again. 1. Do not attempt to manage a pool at 100 ppm CYA with bleach or any other chlorine source without first diluting. The chlorine demand at that CYA level makes effective sanitation practically impossible regardless of what product you use. Testing CYA takes 5 minutes. Knowing the number before starting the transition prevents the frustration of switching to bleach and finding the pool chemistry unresponsive, which is not a bleach failure. It is a CYA problem that was running before the switch and continues running after it until the dilution happens. Why bleach works as a complete tablet replacement. The chemistry. The active compound in trichlor tablets is trichloroisocyanuric acid, which hydrolyzes in water to release hypochlorous acid, the sanitizing form of chlorine, along with cyanuric acid and hydrochloric acid. The active compound in plain unscented bleach is sodium hypochlorite, which hydrolyzes in water to release hypochlorous acid and sodium hydroxide. Both sources produce the same active sanitizer, hypochlorous acid, in the pool water. 1. The mechanism of bacteria kill, algae oxidation, and organic compound breakdown is identical, regardless of which compound delivered the hypochlorous acid. The differences are in what else comes along for the ride. Tablets bring cyanuric acid and pH-lowering acid. Bleach brings mild pH-raising sodium hydroxide and nothing else. For a pool owner who has been fighting CYA accumulation and pH management simultaneously, switching to bleach eliminates both problems at once. CYA stops climbing. pH no longer gets pushed downward by continuous tablet addition, requiring pH up to compensate. 1. The chemistry stabilizes. The concentration difference between pool store liquid chlorine at 10 to 12.5% sodium hypochlorite and grocery store bleach at 6 to 8.25% means you use proportionally more bleach volume to deliver the same amount of active chlorine. The math on a per unit of active chlorine basis still favors bleach on cost in most markets at most times of year and significantly favors bleach during peak summer pricing when pool store liquid chlorine prices spike while grocery store bleach stays flat. 1. The label requirement is absolute and cannot be compromised. Plain and unscented only. Sodium hypochlorite as the only listed active ingredient. No splash guard formulas, no scented varieties, no outdoor bleach with surfactants, no thickened or gel formulations, no with cleaning power additions. Read the label on every jug before purchase. The additives that make scented and specialty bleach products useful for laundry and cleaning create foam, residue, and chemistry interference in pool water. Plain is not a preference, it is a requirement. 1. The exact transition method. Removing tablets and starting bleach correctly. Step 1. Remove the tablet floater or any tablets from the skimmer basket. Do not let existing tablets continue dissolving while you transition. Every tablet that dissolves through the transition period adds more CYA to a pool you are trying to stabilize. Remove the source completely before adding anything else. Step 2. Based on your CYA test result, Complete any necessary dilution before proceeding. If CYA tested above 70 ppm, drain and refill the required percentage. Wait 48 hours, retest. 1. Confirm CYA is below 65 ppm before continuing. Step 3. Test all 5 numbers now that the CYA situation is addressed. Free chlorine, pH, total alkalinity, CYA confirmed, and calcium hardness. Write all 5 down. This is your transition baseline. Step 4. Correct alkalinity if below 80 ppm. Grocery store baking soda at $1 per pound. For a 10,000-gallon pool, 1.5 pounds raises alkalinity by 10 ppm. Add in 2 stages with a 4-hour retest between target 100 to 110 ppm for maximum pH stability. Wait until alkalinity is stable before correcting pH. Step 5. Correct pH to 7.4 to 7.6. 1. Muriatic acid from the hardware store if high. Diluted in a bucket of pool water first. Poured slowly at the deep end with the pump running. Borax or washing soda from the laundry aisle if low. Add in stages. Retest between additions. Step 6. Consider establishing the borate buffer system simultaneously with the transition. 20 pounds of borax per 10,000 gallons from the laundry aisle. Lumph. This creates the pH stability layer that tablets were partially providing through their pH lowering effect, counteracting aeration-driven pH rise, and replaces it with a more controlled, non-accumulating buffer. The borax buffer holds pH in the effective chlorine range the same way the tablet acid aeration cycle was accidentally doing, but without the CYA accumulation that accompanied it. Correct pH with muriatic acid 2 hours after adding borax. Retest the following morning. Step 7. Begin daily bleach additions at dusk. 1. Calculate your dose based on pool volume and current free chlorine level. To raise free chlorine by 1 ppm in a 10,000-gallon pool using 6% bleach, add 21 ounces. Most summer pools need 1 to 2 ppm of added chlorine per day to stay in the 2 to 4 ppm target range. That is 21 to 42 ounces per evening addition, approximately 1 to 2 cups. Add at dusk when UV cannot destroy the dose before it circulates. Run the pump for at least 2 hours after adding. Step 8. Test free chlorine the following morning. 1. The morning test after the first bleach addition confirms that the dose was appropriate for your pool's current demand. If chlorine is holding at or above 2 ppm, the dose was right. If it dropped near 0 overnight, increase the next evening's addition by 50% and retest the following dawn. Adjust until morning chlorine holds reliably above 2 ppm. Now, before the full weekly bleach-based maintenance schedule. If you want every dose and the printable routine in one place, the Pool Carter Playbook, from green to crystal clear. 139 pages covering the complete grocery store method with exact doses for every pool size, the full slam process for green pools, the seasonal guide, and the 5 numbers that run your pool all summer. Normally $67, right now just $29.99. Day money-back guarantee, instant PDF download, link is below this video. The 3 mistakes that make the tablet to bleach transition fail. Mistake 1, not diluting before switching when CYA is above 70 ppm. This is the most common transition failure, and it causes owners to conclude that bleach does not work as well as tablets. 1 bleach added to a pool at 90 ppm CYA faces the same chlorine lock problem that tablets face at 90 ppm CYA. The product is irrelevant at that CYA level. The water cannot use chlorine effectively regardless of its source. Test CYA first, dilute if needed, then switch in that order. Mistake 2, adding bleach in the morning instead of at dusk. Owners transitioning from tablets sometimes continue the tablet habit of adding chlorine whenever they think of it, often in the morning during the daily pool check. 1 tablets dissolve slowly over days, and UV resistance from the CYA they carry makes timing less critical. Bleach added in the morning under summer sun loses 50 to 90% of its dose to UV destruction before it can fully circulate. The transition appears to require enormous quantities of bleach, and chlorine still cannot hold. The fix is timing, not dose. Add bleach at dusk. Every addition, without exception. Mistake 3, expecting tablets to be completely unnecessary going forward. 1. The title of this video uses the word never because it is a more compelling way to describe what the switch produces for most owners in most conditions. The honest version: you will not need tablets as a daily sanitizer source and will likely never want them in that role again once you understand the CYA accumulation problem. But there are specific situations: extended travel, pool sitting unattended for a week, early spring when you want slow dissolve chlorine maintaining a baseline without daily attention, where a tablet or two serves a legitimate purpose. The key is using them occasionally and deliberately rather than as the continuous primary sanitizer. Use them as a tool with a specific job, not as the automatic default that runs all season regardless of the chemistry consequences. The cost comparison: tablets versus bleach for a full season. A bucket of 50 trichlor tablets, typically a 3-month supply for a 15,000-gallon pool, costs $55 to $75 depending on the brand and retailer. 2 buckets for a 5-month season, $110 to $150 in tablets alone. 1. This does not include the pH up purchased repeatedly to counteract the tablet-driven pH depression. The specialty algaecide purchased when the CYA climbs high enough to undermine chlorine effectiveness, or the partial drain and refill needed in September when CYA has stacked to 100 ppm and nothing else works. Add those costs and the total tablet system chemistry spend for a season reaches $300 to $500 for a typical residential pool. The bleach-based system for the same pool and same season. 1. Approximately 60 to 70 large jugs of plain unscented 6% bleach across a 5-month season of daily maintenance plus weekly shocks. $240 to $280 at $4 per jug. No pH down purchased because bleach does not lower pH. No algaecide purchased because CYA stays in range and chlorine works effectively. No mid-season partial drain and refill because CYA is not accumulating. Muriatic acid for pH management, 1 gallon from the hardware store at $10. Total, approximately $250 to $290. 1. The saving in the first season: $50 to $200 depending on what supplemental products the tablet system was requiring. The saving in subsequent seasons consistently $200 to $300 because the CYA-related costs that compounded through the first tablet season do not exist in a bleach-based system. And the saving in avoided dilution: no partial drain and refill required at the end of each season to reset CYA, adds another $30 to $60 in water and chemical costs annually. What the pool looks and feels like after the transition: realistic expectations. 1 week 1 after the transition is primarily a stabilization week. If CYA required dilution, the water chemistry is adjusting to the lower stabilizer level and the new chlorine source. Some cloudiness during dilution is normal as chemistry redistributes. Testing daily and adding bleach at dusk based on the morning result keeps free chlorine in range through this adjustment period. Week 2 onward with CYA in the correct range, alkalinity stable at 100 to 110 ppm, and pH holding at 7.4 to 7.6 with the borax buffer, the bleach additions you make at dusk are working at full effectiveness. 1 free chlorine holds better overnight than it did in the tablet system. Not because more chlorine is being added, but because the pH conditions that were undermining effectiveness have been corrected and the CYA that was locking chlorine up is now in the range where it protects without impairing. Water feel typically improves within 2 to 3 weeks of the transition for pools that had high CYA. As CYA drops through dilution and stabilizes in the correct range, the water quality consistency improves. 1 eye irritation that owners had attributed to chlorine was often the result of chloramine accumulation in a pool where high CYA was preventing effective oxidation of organic compounds. With CYA correct and chlorine working at full effectiveness, chloramine formation rates drop and the water becomes more comfortable to swim in. By the end of the first full season on bleach, most owners describe the same experience. They have not bought a bucket of tablets. They have not driven to the pool store for a pH correction product. They have not done a mid-season emergency treatment. 1. They have added bleach at dusk based on what the morning test showed. Corrected alkalinity twice with grocery store baking soda, used 1 gallon of muriatic acid for pH, and swum in consistently clear water that cost under $300 in chemistry for the entire season. The maintenance schedule for the bleach-based system: every morning in July and August, 2-minute test of free chlorine and pH chlorine below 2 ppm noted. Add bleach at dusk, pH above 7.6 noted. Add diluted muriatic acid at dusk, both in range. Nothing to do except the evening bleach routine. 1 every evening at dusk, add calculated bleach dose. For most 10,000-gallon pools in peak summer, 30 to 40 ounces of 6% bleach per evening maintains free chlorine in the 2 to 4 ppm range. Adjust based on what the morning test shows. If chlorine is consistently holding at 3 ppm or above, reduce the evening dose slightly. If it is consistently dropping to 1.5 ppm by morning, increase it. Once per week, full 5-number panel, correct alkalinity with baking soda if below 90 ppm. Correct pH after alkalinity is stable. 1 confirmed CYA is holding steady. On bleach as primary source, it should not be moving. Check calcium hardness for the 200 to 400 ppm target. Brush pool surfaces for 3 minutes. Empty baskets. Check filter pressure. After any heavy use day, double the evening bleach dose and run the pump through the night. Test at dawn. This covers the post-party organic load that would otherwise accumulate into a shock-requiring situation by the following weekend. Once per month. Confirm CYA with a drop test kit. 1. If it has moved at all, which it should not on a pure bleach system, investigate whether any trichlor product entered the pool inadvertently. Check borate level if the buffer system is established. Top up with borax if below 30 ppm. The season-long cost of not making the switch. What 12 more weeks of tablets actually costs. Run this calculation before the next bucket of tablets goes into the cart. Not just the cost of the tablets themselves, the full downstream cost of everything the tablet system generates as a consequence of the CYA accumulation it cannot avoid. 1 tablets for a 5-month season on a 15,000-gallon pool. 2 buckets at $65 each, $130. That is the visible cost. The one that appears on the receipt and feels like the complete price of pool chlorination. The hidden costs that the tablet system generates, pH up purchase 6 to 8 times across the season to counteract the tablet-driven pH depression, $90 to $130. Weekly algicide purchase because the CYA that climbed to 80 ppm in July made chlorine ineffective enough that algae kept threatening, $180 to $300. 1 specialty clarifier treatment in August, when the water went hazy and the pool store recommended it, $25 to $40. Partial drain and refill in September to reset CYA before closing. Water cost plus chemical rebalancing after the dilution, $40 to $70. Total actual cost of the tablet system, including all consequences, $465 to $670 per season. Total cost of the bleach-based system for the same pool and same season. Bleach purchases across the full season, $240 to $280. Muriatic acid, 1 gallon, $10. Baking soda for alkalinity corrections, 1 borax for borate buffer setup if not already established. $15, no pH up, no algicide, no clarifier, no end-of-season dilution. Total $273 to $313.13. The saving in year 1, $190 to $360. The saving in year 2 and every year after that when the borate buffer is already established and the transition dilution is not needed. $250 to $400 per season consistently. Across a 10-year pool ownership, $2,500 to $4,000 saved from 1 product switch and 1 system change. That is not a projected best-case estimate. 1. That is the arithmetic of removing the downstream costs that the tablet system generates while replacing the primary chlorine source with a less expensive compound that does the same chemistry without the accumulation problem. The tablet bucket at the pool store will still be there next spring. So will the bleach aisle at the grocery store. The difference between them is not convenience. A daily dusk bleach edition takes the same 2 minutes as refilling a floater. 1. The difference is what each one does to your water chemistry over a 5-month season, and what that chemistry does to your wallet by September. What happens to your pool when CYA finally comes back into range? Pool owners who complete the dilution cycle and get CYA back to 30 to 50 ppm after a season or more of tablet accumulation describe the experience consistently. The first thing they notice is not water clarity, it is chlorine behavior. The bleach they add at dusk on Monday is still holding at 2.5 ppm on Wednesday morning. That has not happened all summer. The chlorine that was being added into 85 ppm CYA water was working at a fraction of its effectiveness and being consumed faster than it could accumulate. Now the same dose in correctly stabilized water lasts. The second thing they notice is that the weekly shock they were doing mostly out of habit, because the water always seemed to need it by Friday, stops being necessary most weeks. The combined chlorine accumulation that was driving the weekly shock cycle was a direct consequence of chlorine working at reduced effectiveness in high CYA water. Organic compounds were not being oxidized efficiently. They were forming chloramines. The pool smelled like chlorine, the harsh chloramine smell, despite having adequate free chlorine on the test. With CYA correct and chlorine working at full power, organic oxidation happens efficiently and combined chlorine stays low. The Friday shock that was automatic becomes a post-party deliberate action rather than a weekly routine. The third thing they notice happens when guests swim in the pool for the first time after the transition. Eyes do not sting. 1. The water smells like nothing instead of chemicals. Skin does not feel dried out after an afternoon swim. These are the sensory indicators of a pool where chlorine is working correctly, oxidizing organic compounds as they enter rather than letting them accumulate into chloramines that irritate and smell. It is the same experience described in hotel pools that use well-managed chemistry. It is available in a residential pool once CYA is in range, and chlorine is sourced from a compound that does not continue pushing CYA out of range with every addition. The one question to ask before buying anything at the pool store this week. Every pool store product purchase comes down to one question that the pool store is not incentivized to help you ask. What is the active ingredient on the back of this container, and can I buy that compound somewhere else for less? Alkalinity up. Active ingredient sodium bicarbonate, baking aisle, $1 per pound versus $4 to $5 per pound at the pool store. pH up. Active ingredient sodium carbonate or sodium tetraborate, laundry aisle, $4 to $7 per box versus $12 to $18 at the pool store. 1 liquid pool chlorine. Active ingredient sodium hypochlorite at 10%, bleach aisle, 6% version at $3 to $5 per jug versus $6 to $9 per gallon at the pool store. pH down. Active ingredient sodium bisulfate, replaced by muriatic acid from the hardware store at $10 per gallon versus $18 to $25 for a smaller pool store quantity. Ask this question before every pool store purchase, and the shopping cart gets significantly shorter. The items that survive the question: cyanuric acid, cal hypo bulk shock, a quality drop test kit, borate test strips, are the 4 products that genuinely belong at the pool store, because no equivalent exists at the grocery store or hardware store. Everything else on the wall is a commodity compound in a specialty container at a specialty price for a buyer who has not yet flipped the container over and read the back. 1. The tablet bucket is the most expensive example of this pattern in residential pool care because its consequences compound all season, rather than sitting isolated on one receipt. Every bucket that goes in before the CYA test is run and the result is understood is a bucket that is purchasing a season's worth of downstream chemistry problems along with its chlorine. The bleach jug next to the laundry detergent at the grocery store is the same chlorine without the accumulation problem, at a lower unit cost, available during the same shopping trip you are already making. 1. The pool store will still be there. 4 things still belong there. The tablet bucket is not one of them anymore. The pattern that the tablet system was creating, and why it ends here. Every season of tablet use has been running the same cycle. Tablets in, CYA up, chlorine effectiveness down, pH down from tablet acid. pH up, purchased to compensate, algaecide purchased, when the chlorine that looks fine on the strip is not actually working, partial drain in late summer when the CYA has stacked too high. New season starts. Tablets go back in, cycle begins again. The cycle is not a pool problem. It is a chemistry design problem inherent to the tablet sanitizer system. Trichlor tablets were not designed to be the year-round daily-use primary chlorine source for residential pools in hot climates with long swimming seasons. They were designed as a convenient supplemental chlorine source. Somewhere along the way, they became the default, and the CYA accumulation problem they cause became a problem the pool industry profits from solving through algaecide, pH products, and end-of-season dilution services rather than preventing. 1. Bleach, as the primary sanitizer, prevents the cycle from running. CYA stays in range. Chlorine works at full effectiveness. pH management is straightforward. The grocery store 2 miles from your pool has been selling the fix all along. The tablet bucket in the pool store has been the recurring problem wearing the appearance of a solution. Switch this week, test today. Dilute if CYA is above 70 ppm. Start bleach at dusk once CYA is in range. Run the morning test every day through the end of summer. The tablet floater can stay on the shelf. 1. If you have already made this switch, or if this video is the one that finally explains why your tablet-fed pool has been fighting you every August, drop it in the comments. How high was your CYA when you tested it, and how long had you been running tablets without checking? That number, shared publicly, is the most useful thing the next tablet-dependent pool owner reads before they buy another bucket. Every video on this channel works the same way. Real numbers, no sponsors, no pool store upsell. If that is useful to you, subscribe. This channel reads the water, not the marketing.